You are listening to The Breakfast Show here on Faith FM with myself, Skafy, and I have Lindsay and producer Shell here with me in the studio today. We were talking about the story of Joseph and how to calibrate if a person is ready to receive your important bombshell news or not. We spoke about that. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can catch us up in the podcast that will be released later today. And now we are going to have a quiz question. After the quiz question, we have a bunch of amazing things prepared for you, including how to relate to anger, how to manage anger. Is it a good emotion to have? Is it a bad emotion to have? How can you regulate it? So this is going to be explored by our resident psychologist, Maria Andrioli. She's going to be exploring with us now how to deal with anger, which is such an important topic. And Lindsay's going to bring a news here about a spa, a nice spa, but for frogs. And I'm going to be talking about the protests that erupted yesterday in a brawl with the police in Sydney. So stay tuned. We have a great show ahead of you. If you would like to text us at any time to participate, send in your comments, your opinions, you're more than welcome to do so. Just text us here to 0491064669. Please keep it respectful because we do read everything that you send and we read it on air. So you can actually participate. You can have your voice being heard. And so make use of that. Producer Shell, can you please help us with another quiz question now?
Indeed I can. What unconventional way did Cyrus the Great face the challenge of how to take Babylon? What unconventional way did Cyrus the Great face the challenge of how to take Babylon? Well done. Lindsay's quick. Yes, and Skafy's thorough. We got two sides of the coin here. 0491064669 for you to play along with us. What unconventional way did Cyrus the Great face the challenge of how to take Babylon?
Yeah, that is such an interesting story, that one. We're going to be talking more about it when we reveal the answer to the quiz question. But now, Lindsay, I have my pet frog, and he's feeling a little bit tired. Okay. He's in need of some back massage.
What's his name?
Perhaps his name is Froggy Boy.
Froggy Boy.
Just kidding. I don't have a... Even though I wish, because you know what? Frogs are actually amazing creatures.
So
I grew up really loathing them.
Really?
And being afraid of them and scared of them. But now in my adult years, it's not that I am looking forward to hug one or to hold on to one, but I learn how to respect and even, why not to say, love frogs, because they do an amazing work in nature.
Oh, yeah. Frogs are pretty great. When I was a kid,
Have you ever had a pet one?
I haven't had a pet frog. I grew up in Queensland as a kid, and there was lots of, big green frogs everywhere. Sometimes if you go in the outback and you go to a random toilet stop, there'll be like a massive green frog sitting in the toilet because it's the only pond you can find nearby sort of thing. Like there'll be multiple. I also remember, throughout North Queensland and some of the islands, I used to live in the Solomon Islands for a while as a teenager. There'd just be cane toads absolutely everywhere.
Cane toads are an issue in the Solomon Islands.
Yeah, they are big
to
time.
this day.
Yeah, I remember. So I was,
and they haven't done anything about them yet.
No, that is the least of their problems, to be honest. That is not a priority for that country whatsoever. So but I remember because I used to live at a hospital and I would live just 200 meters down the street from the actual hospital, and I'd have to walk up for various events to the hospital buildings, and if it was raining at all the frogs would come out and they'd just be sitting in the grass or they'd be in the path and you'd be tripping over them. They were everywhere. It was a lot. So I just remember the culture of North Queensland is to get out your golf club and swing at a cane toad or various things. So.
This is so cruel.
Yeah.
This is brutal.
I'm not recommending any cruelty whatsoever. In fact, the story I have to tell you about today is very different.
Okay.
It is not at all stressful on the frogs. It is, in fact, a spa or a sauna for the frogs. So in the ACT, so in Canberra, they are trying to reintroduce a beautiful Australian frog to the wild, with the help of frog spas and frog saunas. So we're talking about the green and golden bell frog.
Oh, yes. I've heard about that frog.
Have you?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I think that Newcastle University was doing some research in terms of trying to reintroduce them to the wild, into the wild as well.
Was this recently?
Yeah, I think so. I have to double check, but that's just ringing a bell to me.
Sure. A green and golden bell frog. So the green and golden bell frog.
No pun intended.
Yes. Was actually considered extinct in the Canberra area in about 1981, and they've been trying to reintroduce it recently. The reason why it was considered to go extinct in that area is because of a particular type of fungus called chytrid fungus, which has been decimating frog populations around the world recently. And so they've been scrambling to try to find ways to combat this fungus that's been killing off all these froggies and give these frogs a fighting chance against it.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Because funguses are so resilient.
Yeah.
It is really difficult to get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly. So what they have come up with is to build frog saunas to be able to kill off the fungus that's living on their skin. Because this particular type of chytrid fungus really doesn't like any temperatures over 25 degrees Celsius. And it's like 26, 27, 28 or 30 degrees. That kind of temperature range can be quite lethal to the fungus.
Oh, really?
So, but think about this. We're talking about Canberra here. Does Canberra get that hot frequently?
Not at all.
No, it's pretty cold.
And I would imagine that in
told.
some places, like if they're sheltered, if they're in forests with their microclimate, they might never even see these kinds of temperatures all year round.
Yeah, exactly. So
they're in the shade.
Yeah, so the scientists have come up with these frog saunas, and they build them out of black bricks covered in a pyramid of rigid black sheets. Now, we know black retains the heat from sunlight. So when the sun hits these black bricks and black plastic sheets, it's going to retain that energy and that heat and build a little sauna for them. And the little slots that can be found in the sides of bricks are really good hiding places and shelter for the frogs.
So you don't need to convince the frog to enter those saunas?
Just make a happy little warm teepee for them and they'll
they'll
go
just
in.
flock in. They're sauna animals.
Exactly. So, yes. So they're wanting to reintroduce these frogs, 15 frogs at a time, to various ponds in the area around Canberra. And they have already vaccinated some of these frogs against this particular type of fungus. And then whatever offspring that they have will not be vaccinated against it, but will hopefully have a fighting chance due to these saunas.
Okay.
So, yeah, in this very cold part of Australia, they're making little hotspots for them to hang out and to have a nice little warm sauna.
All right. So there's the sauna, but is there any other service included in that spa package?
You can go down and give them massages if you really want to. I won't stop you.
Yes, because if you know, since they're going to the saunas, I'm wondering if anybody was, giving them a massage, perhaps a foot rub, or.
Oh dear, no. So there's 180 of these frog saunas that have been installed around the ponds, where over 300 captive bred frogs will be released. Each female can produce around 8,000 eggs in a single mating season. So while the population is predicted to proliferate rapidly, the offspring will not be immune to the chytrid, but the saunas should help them. So
I'm seeing these saunas here, and they are actually quite amazing. And it's not just one sauna; it's like a complex of saunas that they install near ponds. I'm seeing here a picture of these saunas in Sydney, and there's like at least 10 of them. It's really like a condo, a condominium for frogs. I'm wondering if they could install like a gym nearby as well, because you know how sometimes gyms will have like saunas included in the package.
True.
I wonder if they can have like a little frog gym and perhaps a little frog restaurant there. They can go after the sauna, some towels for them. It would be cute to see a frog wrapped around the towel, just like in the bottom part. Look, but then, you know what? Let me tell you this. I think there's definitely something here to be said about the creativity of that idea. It's so creative, so simple, low cost, and it's promising at least very high impact.
Yeah. We've got Rachel messaging in saying, FYI, Canberra gets very hot in summer. It has been 38 degrees on far too many days this summer. Winter, very cold. Summer, very hot. Autumn and spring, beautiful.
There you go, Rachel. Maybe the frogs won't be looking for the saunas so much in this summer because it
Not
has
in
been
summer.
overly hot.
But look, they don't have to go in during the summer. They can hang out elsewhere during the summer months.
But even
can
in
go in when
winter,
it's
I think
winter.
would be quite pleasant for them.
Yeah.
Maybe if it doesn't really reach the 30 degrees, it's definitely going to be warmer than the surroundings.
100%. Yeah.
You cannot blame a frog from wanting to spend some time in his saunas.
Honestly, all winter long, I spend a lot of time in my hot bath just to stay warm. I'm like,
And one of the best things, and I think that these frogs will soon discover, one of the best things there is to go to a nice hot sauna, and after that you go for a cold plunge.
yeah, that's
nice cold
health and
pool.
well-being right there.
Yeah, and you do that a few times. It's just amazing for the body.
Yeah.
And I think that the froggies will benefit big time from that one.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, look, I love it. I love the creativity. Makes me think like, hey, am I also being creative when it comes to spreading the gospel with people? Because I think there's definitely a case to be made in terms of, hey, why not explore new alternatives, new ways? There's actually a church in Germany that was accused, and I do not know if this is maybe too much creativity, but there's a church in Germany where a country where Christianity is everything but that. It's almost dying, and less people are identifying as Christians, attending church services. There's this one church service that is being highly criticized online because they decide to make a program to attract people, but the program is themed after Harry Potter
Oh, interesting.
and witchcraft and so on. Something that the Bible says, look, don't get involved
Light
with.
has no communion with darkness.
Yeah, so this is what people are saying. Like, well, okay, the organizers are saying, hey, look, we're just trying to be creative here and trying to attract people that would otherwise never be interested in the church. Others are saying, hey, but you cannot do this because it's forbidden. The Bible says don't do this. Like how far can you go into doing something that the Bible prohibits for the sake of finding people?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of controversy going on around that church, and I wanted to know, what do you think about that, listening friend? Do you think that it is this church in Germany, they are doing the right thing, trying to connect with people where they are and contextualize and use imageries that are accessible and familiar to them? Or do you think that, hey, they actually went one step too far? Surely you can contextualize, but not with the works of darkness, not with the things that the Bible condemns. I mean, where would you stop?
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And now, Shell, can you please give us a quiz answer?
Indeed, I can. So that story that we are talking about is from Daniel 5, and it's all about when Cyrus drained the river and everybody was able to march underneath the tunnel gate because the water wasn't there, and they were able to take the city.
One of the greatest military feats, again the use of creativity paid off.
If you can't break down the walls, go under.
Go under them. Yes.
This is before scuba diving. This is probably a bunch of people who weren't great at swimming necessarily.
But there's a miracle element there that a lot of people they don't talk about it, because the Babylonians predicted that something like that could happen. People could try to infiltrate their city through the river channel that flowed through the city. So they had bronze bars at the gates. And they were, almost impenetrable. However, or at least it would take a long time for someone to break in, and it would, wake up the whole town. They would not be taken by surprise. But what happens is that when Cyrus diverted, for some reason, he found that these iron gates, or these bronze gates that were these iron bars that were designed to prevent people from coming in from underneath, they were open. Who left it open for them?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I think it's actually in a miracle. And when you look at the prophecy of Isaiah talking about Cyrus, I think in chapter 45 and 46, Isaiah says, God says to Cyrus, I am the God who's going to open the the gates,
the bronze bars.
the bronze bars for you.
I've read that prophecy.
Have you read that before?
Yeah.
So there you go. It is a combination of human ingenuity, human engineering, and
miracles.
persistence and God's opening up the doors and doing for us what the things that we cannot do for ourselves.
Awesome.
Let's talk about the protests yesterday.
Tell us.
So everybody are talking about it. So it all started when the Labour government invited the president of Israel, President Isaac Herzog, to come to Australia for a visit.
Okay.
And this is in the context of the very tragic Bondi shootings earlier in the year. At the or was it late last year during Hanukkah, and President Herzog wanted to come to show his sympathy, and there were a lot of members of the Jewish community that were cheering that and welcoming that show of international support. After all, these people have been shot just because they were Jews. Nothing. It was a very grave hate / anti-Semitic / religious, I would even say, crime. Look, it's fair to say that not every single Jew of the Jewish community is on board with how the Israeli government is handling the conflict in Gaza. And in particular, President Herzog. One of the things that people raise against him is that he appeared signing or autographing one of the bombs used by the military to be deployed in Gaza. In that, this is not something new. This is something that politicians do all the time to kind of support the morale of their troops back home.
Yeah.
But in a very
that
polarized...
happened after Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
When America finally got into the war, they named and left messages on all of the bombs, even though...
Yes, and sometimes they even go overboard and they ask children to make drawings on the bombs, and so why are you involving kids to do that? But anyway, so he came in, and because of that there had been some protests that were scheduled, but against that backdrop, there had been some newer laws, particularly in New South Wales, restricting some of the abilities of protesters to demonstrate their political views. Now, they're not banning protests, but they're saying that in some circumstances, the police can ask a lawful protest to be a static protest. Meaning you meet at a park, you meet at a square, you meet somewhere, and you stay there. And you do your singing, you do your words of order, you show your signs, you express your frustration, your political views, all these kinds of things. But then you're not allowed to march or to block public spaces or public roads as you're doing this. However, what happened yesterday is that these protests gathered, according to the police, 6,000 people. According to the organizers, 50,000 people. There's always such a discrepancy between police numbers and protesters' numbers. You never really know who to trust in these ones.
Yeah.
But these are the numbers that have been officially reported. And initially, they were gathering peacefully. And it was peaceful for a long time until the mob started to become agitated, and some of the demonstrators attempted to march towards areas that were restricted by the police. They actually wanted to move from Town Hall all the way to the New South Wales Parliament House in Sydney. It's a short walk, but this is a very traditional protest route.
Yeah.
So what resulted of that was that there were some clashes. There's clashes. The police used pepper spray. They charged the crowd. They made some physical arrests. But there were some viral videos going online showing officers punching protesters, and even a video where they were dragging Muslim men that were praying. The police defended themselves and say, look, all these videos that are being uploaded, they are very, very short and they are lacking context.
Sure.
And I would say, look, fair enough. Some of these videos, they are very short. And look, what are the contexts? Now, the police hasn't given us yet the context, but the police officers were using body cams themselves. So I think that if we need to get context, surely we'll be able to see these contexts through their body cams. And I think that the police should release them so that we can all be
It'll be at
comfortable.
least 72 hours from...
At least 72 hours?
Yeah, because everything has to be assessed.
Okay.
So they aren't really allowed to talk about stuff yet.
Straight away.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So let's definitely look and see what is happening there. I think that the body cams is such a great device because, you know, it really clears up the police. And the police is standing by what they've done. So look, they actually, they exercise a lot of restraint. They did make arrests, 27 arrests. 9 people were later charged, including 10 for allegedly assaulting officers. But the police said, look, we've done the right thing. You have to understand what is the context. And the problem with these short videos is that they don't really see any. They don't really show any context, so you don't know what has happened before.
Yeah.
But it does show some pictures that make people want some explanations. Like, why would you be arresting, men that were peacefully praying in the street? Were they blocking a public access road?
Yeah.
Maybe that could be one of the reasons. Well, it's not clear from the video. Or have they been involved in some kind of wrongdoing before, and then now they're trying to pass on as we're just praying, we're not doing anything wrong, but the police had seen them doing something else, and now they're just trying to blend in. There were some horrific scenes, actually, some scenes that I don't remember having seen them. Producer Shell, here in Australia, there's one scene of 2 protesters. They were masked, and when you're masked up, I already suspect that you do not have good intentions.
Yeah.
They climbed on top of a tram station, what it looks to be like a tram station, and they were burning the Israel flag in public. I mean, burning people's flags, countries' flags. Again, I think this is, because Israel is greater than their politicians, even if you disagree with how their politicians are doing things. We're talking about an entire nation, millions and millions of people. Why are you going to be symbolically burning all of them? I think this is very inappropriate. Yeah. But what are your impressions from what happened yesterday, Shell? What are some of the thoughts that you have?
I'm not going to have any thoughts for at least 72 hours.
Okay. Producer Shell is brewing her thoughts for 72 hours.
Yeah, I think that it's important to wait until you get longer videos, more clarity.
That's right.
As we talked about with the Renee Good situation, people jump to such,
hurried conclusions,
and then when facts come out, it's too late.
Yeah,
you've already got a heart commitment that you're not willing to change your mind over. So I do think that we have to be careful of that sort of thing.
And that's actually what I wanted to bring this news, because we're a Bible show after all, and I want to bring the Bible. And the Bible verse that I have selected for today is exactly that. It's Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 17. This is what it says: the first to plead his case always appears to be right, until another comes and examines him. There's always 2 sides to the story, and it's very easy for us to jump the gun and jump into conclusions because I have seen the video, and surely this video can only mean one thing.
Yeah.
And I'll say, no, if you've been in long enough on this planet, you will see that one short video that is highly edited often is not telling the story. Actually, on the contrary, if you see a video that is highly edited, why is it so much edited? Why don't you just, give the whole thing, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, so we can get the context. So we don't know. But also at the same time, I also don't want to automatically necessarily acquit the police, because sometimes police do use excesses. Not the whole police force, but sometimes it does happen. So I think that the word for us, as Christians at least, is to say, hey, you know what? Let's just do like producer Shell. Let's wait a little bit. Let's wait until things settle a little bit. Be slow to anger, slow to jump into conclusions. Let's heed to that command, I would even say, that suggests in the book of Proverbs that, hey, let's examine, let's see the 2 sides of the story. Let's see all the evidence rolling out, and then we can make a decision of that. No need to jump the gun, to hurry, to get all exalted and be, venting out and spitting, venom. It's not going to be good for your health. It's not going to be good for your cause, whatever side of the spectrum you are. It's not going to be good for anyone.
Yeah. Ask a lot of questions. Make sure you get your answers, and then make your decision. Don't do it before you get the answers.
Yeah.
So this is it. Have you seen some of the videos?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I just heard as you were playing it earlier before the show started, and there was a lot of screaming and wailing, and I was like, I don't want to be listening to this. This is just a bit traumatizing.
Very distressing.
Just to hear. No, I wasn't even looking
at it.
They
were distressing images, for sure.
I was not interested in knowing
screaming
further,
and confusion. Yeah.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Now it's our time for our interview with Maria. Welcome, Maria.
Hey, Lindsay.
How you going, my friend?
I'm
Hey,
going
Maria.
good. How are you?
Nice to have
Hey,
you here.
Skafy.
It's great to have you here.
Thanks. Good to
And
be on.
I love the theme that you have selected for us today. Myths
Yeah,
about
yeah. It's an
anger.
important topic.
Yes, tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about it. So, why is that a thing? Like, do you see lots of people that struggle with anger as a because I'm not a very angry person myself naturally. And when I'm angry, I go to God and He helps me. But I'm naturally not, I cannot say that I have an anger issues. But I have met a lot of people that do have. Do you see them frequently and often in your
Yeah,
practice?
absolutely. I all the time. I think anger is one of the most common emotions that people struggle with. In a sense that it hurts them, it hurts other people, and it's also really misunderstood as well.
How so?
Well, there's a lot of kind of myths, I would say, that are kind of circulating about anger. Even within the field of psychology, a number of those I'd like to chat about, and it's good to kind of bring them to light because a lot of like newer research is showing, hang on, anger doesn't actually work the way we've been talking about it for the past,
Okay.
10 years or so.
So what has changed in our in how psychologists were interpreting or treating or working with anger and how to regulate anger? What changed for the past like 10, 20 years? What are we doing different today than compared to what we used to do before?
Well, something that you may have come across, I'm curious to know if you have or not, is this idea that anger is healthy as long as you express it. So this idea that, when you shove it down, it causes a lot of problems. But if you just like let it out and express it, you're going to be okay. I don't know. Have you guys come across that?
I think so, yeah.
I have in ways, but I think that the thing is how you express it, because you can express anger in pretty harmless ways. I remember like Mr. Rogers, for example, so one of his shows, he would say like he would express his anger when he was angry. He would go to the piano and would be playing all of the grave notes. And that would make him feel better.
Yeah.
I have read, books saying instructing parents to say to their children, look, if you want to express your anger, you can go punch your pillow, but never direct that expression of anger towards another human being. So, is there any wisdom in that? Like, okay, it's important to express, but how to express is actually even more important.
Yeah, you've raised a good example. What you talked about with the parent and how they were communicating with their child is basically called redirection. So it's like redirecting that child to let their anger out on somewhere else. But the thing with the research, it actually shows that when you experience frequent anger, no matter how you express it, whether you express it outwardly or hold it inside or redirect it, just the experience of getting angry a lot is going to give you health problems.
Yeah.
No matter how it's expressed. You're going to get higher rates of heart disease, higher blood pressure, chronic inflammation, poorer mental health. The reality is like no matter how you express it, anger, when you experience it chronically, will put your body in a state of fight, flight, or even shut down, freeze, but you're still in that overactive stress response. So, regardless of how you express it, like the health problems are still there.
This makes me think of a Bible verse that says that the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. So what would you suggest going forward for people who have chronic anger issues? How can they handle that other than expressing?
Yeah, so that's a good question because so far this is all sounding really gloomy. Yeah. But I think we've commonly thought of it as, we can either shove our anger down and, that will make us just bottle it all up, or we can find, different ways of letting it out. But the reality is there is a third choice that we don't often talk about. And that's actually learning how to turn the volume down on our anger, how to not get rid of it, not shove it down, not just express it in many different ways, but actually how to reduce it. And to do that, it's helpful to really understand a few different things about anger.
Okay, all right. Let's move. Let's talk about them because I'm very interested. So, how do we turn the volume down, and what do we need to understand first before we put it in practice?
Yeah. So there's a few different things I want to talk about. One is based on this myth that it's other people that make us angry. It's other situations that make us angry. When in reality, a big part of anger is not the other person or the other situation, but it's the way that we're perceiving that person or situation. Okay. And a big part of this is based on our expectations of the way things should be. Okay. A major kind of driver of anger is centered around this word should. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to give you a really typical example of anger. Imagine you're, running late somewhere, and then you get stuck behind someone who is just driving in all sorts of strange ways, right? And for some people, this aggravates them more than other people. And generally the ones that get angry are the ones that have this kind of rigid expectation of, people should always drive well. I should be able to just get through. And this kind of expectation, when reality doesn't match, can make us really angry.
Very interesting.
So part of that is kind of being able to shift our expectations when talking about traffic, recognizing, hang on, people don't always drive well. People are not robots. They are strange and complex and do all sorts of funny things. And I can't always expect that my driving experience is going to be perfect. I'm probably going to meet all sorts of strange people on the road. And just having that kind of level of acceptance is part of what lowers our anger.
So it's managing the expectations of what the ideal world in our mind is versus the real world, and just accepting the fact that, hey, things are going to go out of control, things are going to go wrong, and that's totally fine. It's okay. That's part of the human experience.
Yeah, so absolutely. Acceptance is a key word there.
And I guess the flexibility that comes along with that.
Yeah. That's another good word, flexibility, right? Because a major fuel for anger is rigid expectations. Sure. So being able to be flexible.
Right, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So in order to turn the volume of our anger down, the first thing is to really recalibrate our expectations. Ask ourselves, okay, what are the shoulds that are floating around my mind, and what's wrong with them? Perhaps I am expecting too much about a certain circumstance, and I'm getting frustrated when that deviates from the ideal, even in a minimal way. What's the next thing we need to understand so we can really start putting that anger under control, not letting it dominate us?
Another thing to understand is how our language is shaping our anger. So when we think of the way that we speak about things and we think about things, or just language in general, we often think that we use language to describe.
Okay.
But in reality, language doesn't just describe our feelings. It actually shapes them. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
coming back to the traffic. I'm, driving or just running late. This person is kind of holding me back in front of me. I'm feeling frustrated, and I begin to speak to myself in my head, and I might begin to use words like, this is horrible. I'm going to be really late. Everything is going to be ruined. This day is ruined. I'm using this really emotionally loaded language.
Yeah.
But I can actually turn the volume down on my anger by shifting my language to something that's just more neutral, this person is driving really strange, and that's really frustrating. It is really inconvenient. Yeah. It's annoying, but I can also handle it.
So kind of
by that language.
Instead of catastrophizing, just really reining it back in and being okay, let's be a bit more reasonable about the kind of language that we're using here.
Yeah, decatastrophizing, right, with my language.
Yeah.
And recognizing that language that I'm using, I do have control over it.
Yeah.
I can shift the ways that I'm speaking to myself, and that is going to turn my anger down when I practice doing that.
You know what I do sometimes when I find myself stuck in traffic, and this is usually like on a Saturday morning when I'm already late to church.
Yeah.
I'll be driving along, I'll be late to church, and I'll be frustrated at the people who are driving slow in front of me, and I tell myself, you know what, it's Sabbath, it's a day of rest, everyone's allowed to go slowly, but usually I'm meant to be at church and leading out, so it's not that great, but I tell myself it's a day of rest, it's okay, and like just doing that on a Saturday morning helps retrain me to make my driving experience in general a lot more simple. Like, nobody's in a rush, everyone just calm down. Lindsay, calm down. So that's what I do.
Yeah, that's some good self-talk there.
Yeah.
But Maria, let me ask this question. You're talking about these really amazing skill of us using words to de-escalate our own feelings by labeling our emotions from the extreme side of things to like a more, milder emotion. So instead of saying, oh, I'm fuming, I'm so angry, it's just like, hey, okay, I'm upset, it's okay, and have to go. But the question that I have is, can we use that same tactic, I guess I can call it that, so we can help other people regulate better? So when we see that someone is getting really, really angry, is it helpful to use words and say, acknowledge what they're feeling, but then kind of throw in some words that will help them to de-escalate?
That's a really good question. And I like that, you kind of saw that side of it. So look, I would say that primarily this is something that happens internally.
Okay.
A person is individually responsible for their anger, and regardless of how another person speaks to them, like they're going to have a choice on whether or not, they kind of begin to take that ownership over their anger. Look, but it's something we might talk about another time is maybe next time we can talk about, co-regulation. Yeah, and how the way we kind of approach another person can either escalate or de-escalate their emotions, because I think that's a really good topic.
Yeah, awesome.
And what about that idea, are there people that think like actually, because when people are angry, and we can see these, angry people at restaurants and stores, and often they get, as a result of that anger, you have that idea, like if you don't complain, you're not going to get what you're entitled to or get your rights. Is there a common thought, that idea of like, look, if I'm angry, I can actually get things done that I cannot get done if I'm, playing too nice?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people have learned to use anger as a tool. And I think that's, can begin in early childhood. It might have gotten them what they wanted when they were young at some point. And so they've learned to use it as a tool. And look, the reality is that in the short term, anger will get you what you want. If you yell at your kid, you can scare them into doing something. If you, use anger in your relationships, you might be able to make people bend. But in the long term, it doesn't work. These people who you use anger to try to,
manipulate,
get them to do what you
Control,
want. Manipulate, try to control, whatever words you want to use. Like eventually they're going to push back. They're going to grow resentful. That kid who you kept yelling at is going to start doing things sneakily in secrecy. That partner who you try to, make them, do a certain thing because you were angry at them is going to start sabotaging the relationship in other ways, maybe in a more passive way if they're not prone to like direct displays of anger. So it actually damages what you're trying to do in the long term.
Yeah, it backfires.
It backfires.
And it's so interesting because this is the difference. Like this is why God is so interested in having us to love Him based on love. This is why we're not getting thunders coming from the sky every time that we do something wrong, because God doesn't want to have a relationship based on fear with Him, but rather based on love, because it's just not sustainable. God could just like scare everybody into worshiping Him, but would that serve Him any purpose? Maria, thank you so much for bringing that. This is such a great conversation. I'll definitely be keen to hear more about it, particularly in that arena of, dealing with people when they are throwing in, outbursts of anger towards us. How do we deal with these situations? What's the best way to go about it? So we're looking forward to talk to you again next week on Wednesday. Thank you so much for dialing in today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. a big pleasure from us. And if you enjoyed that question, if you have any questions in how to deal with anger or emotions, you can text us here, 0491 064 669. We will send that message to you, that message to Maria, and you can explore that topic a little bit further.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.